Now we will talk about price ceilings and price floors. You know, there's an equilibrium price, and let me draw this by the way, we will use the diagram of course for this video. So we have our supply and demand curves. As always, I chose arbitrary angle of them, supply and demand curves. Now, where they cross is the market equilibrium, is the optimal price of the free market, right? And so we can do like a straight line, horizontal line through the equilibrium, showing us, and this is price, the vertical axis, and the horizontal is as always quantity. Now, here, for example, let's say this is $2 per unit, and the quantity is 100. So when 100 is supplied, the price is 2, then we get to our equilibrium. But what price ceilings, and so we see our equilibrium price, the optimal price for the market, where it is natural, is 2 for, and at quantity 100. That's where our market should be. Now, when price ceilings or price floors are introduced, the line here for the price of the market is shifted. It's shifted in a non-natural manner. That means people are forced to either provide a max price and not exceed it, producers, not to exceed that certain price, or there's a price floor. That means that something cannot go under a certain price. Okay? And so let me show this. With a price ceiling, what it does is we are limited to a price paradoxically below our equilibrium price. That means the new market price is shifted downwards. And so let's maybe make this 8 so it's easier to illustrate. And so from price 8 we go to price 7. The price ceiling means instead of being able to do price here, we can only do it, we have to squash it down. We cannot exceed 7. The price now cannot go above 7. Before it was at 8, but now it cannot go above 7. And so we limited our price, and we see by this we limited our quantity supplied, okay, but we write our quantity demanded. So let me just make these lines vertical down, and so we see we shifted our price down. That means instead of our original price 8, now we have price 7. And that means that if we again draw a horizontal line cutting through both the supply curve and the demand curve that is parallel to our quantity line, then we will get different values right here. Before we had equilibrium quantity at equilibrium price, and it was 100 for price 8. But now that we have price 7, it means that suppliers won't supply as much. They are not getting $8 or whatever for it. They're only getting 7. So they are going to supply less. So the quantities, we can call this quantity supply is lower, okay? And quantity demanded, on the other hand, raised. It went up because now that the people can buy the same stuff for a lower price, they'll want more of it. Okay, this is automatic, and that means quantity demanded exceeds quantity supplied. And this is called a shortage. That means that people want more than there's available, produced by the producers. Producers are not supplying enough for all the demand, so there's not enough to satisfy all the demand. And so this is another topic, and there's of course a lot of things we can observe in this diagram, not just the price ceilings and price floors that we're talking of now. But I won't go into that, not to confuse you. So you see, again, just to repeat it, our original equilibrium was right here. And the equilibrium told us about our equilibrium price, which was horizontally exactly on the price axis. We saw it was 8, right? But price ceiling made the price lower. Price ceilings made the price forcibly lower. It's made by the government. That means it says that nobody can sell a certain thing for more than 7. That means people are gonna sell at the 7. Now, when the equilibrium price was at 8, it's a price ceiling when the government makes the price lower, and then it's a price floor when it makes it higher. Okay, but let me just maybe mark this horizontal line, the price ceiling. That just means we cannot go all the way to our equilibrium price. Now, the other variant or the opposite of this is the price floor. And let me just do this at price 9. So let's say there's a certain product. For example, and this is for the producers. the producers say, well, we are selling this for too low a price. The market price is not high enough for us. We are not satisfied with the market price, and so there's a certain government says now, okay, you get this price floor, and you're not going to be selling at the market price anymore. You're going to be selling at more, and so we see there's a rise. And I didn't do this symmetrical, but doesn't matter because this line is a little closer to the equilibrium price than the price ceiling was. Let me just say this is price floor, because the price does not go below the 9, although the market equilibrium price was at 8. We are going actually beyond that, and so we see now quantity, and now don't maybe I'll delete these just not to confuse it with the price ceiling. Now we will again only concentrate on price floor, and so with the price floor we see the quantity demanded went down. Quantity demanded went down, and quantity supplied, which is right here, we can just measure it from the new cross of the new price with the original axis. Quantity supplied went up. Okay, and so this is called an oversupply. And again, I will go into this at a later moment in a different video, not to confuse it now. So we see the point is when the prices are made higher, not naturally, the producers are getting more money, so they want to produce more, and then there's oversupply. The quantity supplied, you see, it's higher, it's beyond 100, and the quantity demand is lower than 100, and so quantity supplied at a price floor situation is exceeding the quantity demanded. Whereas when there's a price ceiling, the price is forcibly made unnaturally low, and so the demand will exceed the supply. The suppliers won't want to produce because they don't get that much money, but the demanders, the consumers are going to buy more because they will be able to buy for a lower price than was the natural market price. And so we saw, just to again repeat all this stuff, when we have our price floor, that just means the price is unnaturally shifted up, made to higher than it was, for the sake usually of producers. They want to make more money by law, for example, or something. And price ceiling, that's just saying that the price cannot exceed something, so it's made unnaturally lower than the market equilibrium. And you see in both cases, market equilibrium is still 8, but price floor made it higher, price ceiling made it lower. And the last thing that we might also look at, let me for example now delete the price floor and just look at the price ceiling again, because always it's easier to look at those side effects just with one, not with both at all, because they're the opposite to each other, so it's not good to draw them on the same graph anyway, but this was just for convenience. So just one last thing to maybe point out is, when we have our equilibrium, that means that the total surplus both of the producers and of the consumers is all this area. Okay, this is the happiness. This is, producers are producing for a lower price than producers are getting a higher price than they would be willing to be paid, and consumers are buying for a lower price than they would be willing to pay for it. So this is the total surplus before the announcement of a price ceiling or price floor. But for example, with a price ceiling, you see the price makes the quantity supplied lower, and so our entire this new vertical line comes about. And so this part of our total surplus is cut off. Okay, it is cut off, and we see this new price also creates the new border between consumer and producer surplus. Okay, so with the price ceiling, the consumer surplus gets bigger actually compared to its initial state. Before it was this triangle. Okay, just bounded by the demand curve and the 8 price natural market price, and then at this graph particularly it was the surplus for producers was equal to it actually. But now we shifted the price down, and so now we see this is lost. This is just destroyed possible surplus because we shifted the demand, the quantity supplied towards the left, and everything was just shifted left. And so we end here at the quantity. We end here at the quantity and so because of the new price, it crosses the line earlier, and so we have to cut it off here, and all of this is just missed. And then what we have left again is bordered by the price, new price, which is 7. So the producer surplus is just this. So it got very limited. There's no producer that got a positive thing from it. And then we have a larger portion of consumers that got a surplus. Now there's a higher consumer surplus. But that does not mean that the total surplus of both producers and consumers combined is higher. It's actually lower. It just means that although the total surplus got lower, consumers now have a bigger surplus, both in magnitude and in comparison to producers. But producers lost a lot, and even consumers, although now they have a bigger surplus, just means they took a lot of this area that belonged to the producers. And now, some of the consumers actually lost their surplus anyway. But this is a more complicated thing that we might talk about more in the future. But just remember, when there's price ceiling or price floor, there's this loss of total surplus, there's this loss of total surplus, because the potential happiness that could have been achieved is limited by some unnatural price control.